every dish, but it felt like I did. So for those who made a dish, thank you. I was blessed by that. Let's pray. Gracious, thank you that we could be here together today and the opportunity to continue talking about what you're trying to do through us. And so we just give you ourselves and pray that this time will mark the beginning of doing something amazing through us. In Jesus' name, amen. So we will dig into this more when I come back in August. But I wanted to kind of give you a taste of so far. So we have copies of the book. We're going to give them to you all today before you leave. So do not leave without your copy of the book. If there are more people, we have 120 copies of the book that we brought. If there are more people than books, then we'll just say take one per family, and then we will ship this week so that by next Sabbath, those who didn't get it, you can get yours next Sabbath. So for that, so we're going to give you each a copy of that. Several people have asked, so we're giving it to you. We're not selling it. We're giving it to you, right? So please be clear about that. But there have been people who have asked, how can I get another copy for whatever? So for those who are interested, you can order them from the North American Division Evangelism Institute website. Scan the QR code, or if you go to natty.org, click on store. But wait to purchase until after, wait to decide to purchase anything until after today, because I plan on giving you more. So don't buy when you don't need to buy. I don't want your money. I want to bless people, but I don't want to inhibit you either, so yeah. Very good. So question is, for those in the PA, are we recording this? Are we recording this? Yes, I got a thumbs up. We are recording this. So I don't know how they're accessed. I don't know if we have a YouTube channel or we just contact them. I would say contact them afterwards, but it is being recorded. So we will give you a copy of the book before you leave today. So don't leave without it. So October is when we're going to have the Bible Prophecy series. The series is entitled Discover Prophecy. And I want to give you kind of a schedule of what's happening between now through then, just so you're kind of up to speed on what's happening, what's going on, what can you expect, etc. So several things. First, kick off on June 27th with a meet and greet. It's kind of a chance to get to know me. We didn't want to wait until October, opening night of the series. And who's this Tim Madden guy, the director of the Evangelism Institute? I'm a little different than some, and not that I'm better. In fact, I'm not. But it's a chance to kind of know who I am. And why is that important? Several reasons. The first is we're not going to mail a brochure. We may mail people on the special events mailing list, but we're not doing a mass mailing. We're trusting that God is going to bring people into your life, whether they're already in your life or not, that will come to the meetings. However, if you don't invite them, they won't come. And just to be straight honest, there are a lot of church members who choose not to invite people to church because they feel that church is not a safe place to invite their friends. That happens a lot. Because they're not sure what the pastor or elder or speaker is going to say that might hurt or offend or something else. And when it comes to the subject of evangelism, Bible prophecy specifically, there are all kinds of evangelists in the world today. Some of them are the turn and burn kind of evangelist, where I've got you here and I'm going to put the pressure on for you to make a decision so that I can get my numbers. And many have been burnt by that and have said, I'm never going to go back to another evangelistic series again, and or I'm not going to invite someone. So I know that God has people in your life, and he's going to bring people into your life to bring to the series. But if you don't trust me, you won't bring them. It's just the way it is. I have a daughter of a high school friend who's actually mentioned in the book, who I would love more than anything to invite to church. She doesn't live where I live. She lives here in Washington State. I would love to invite her to church. But sadly, the Adventist church in her community would not be a safe place for her to come. Not yet. Been praying for it, working for it. So, the purpose of today is you can kind of see how I preach. And so maybe say, okay, he's not so bad. And I want you to know it's a safe place. We're going to talk Bible prophecy. We're going to talk Revelation 13. But we're going to do it in a very compassionate, caring, loving way. If you have a friend, no matter what their religious background, who comes to the meetings, or a family member who comes to the meetings, who comes every night of the meetings, and chooses not to make a decision, they will not be hurt by us when they leave. It won't be a, you better make a decision or you're going to hell kind of mindset. It's a safe place to bring them. First, you know your church is a safe place. So that's not the issue. You know each other. You know that you're all wonderful people. You're a healthy church. I'm not just an outsider coming in. So that's kind of the purpose of today. You're going to get to know my style. You can kind of see how I am, and so that you'll have a better idea of what this is all about. So that's kind of today's purpose. Then on August 15th, I'll be back again. I'll have the morning message. We'll have another meal together. We'll spend some time Sabbath afternoon. So here's what we're hoping to do. We're going to give you a copy of the book, and I want you to read the book. I'm going to give you a couple of warnings about the book. I did not realize this when I wrote it, but I'm just letting you know. If you like to sleep, be careful, because I've been told by many people that they're saying, I'm just going to read one more chapter. And I gave some at a church in Indianapolis on a Friday. Saturday night, this woman comes up to me and says, I loved your book. Like, you read it? Yeah. The whole thing? Yeah. Did you sleep? Yeah, no. I was just going to read one more chapter. And so the chapters are short, but it's 50-some chapters, but they're short. So just be aware of that. And more importantly, I do talk about my childhood and some of the abuse that I went through. There was no sexual abuse, no physical abuse, other forms of abuse. And it has been known to trigger some people. So just be aware. I've had friends who know me, like Tyler and others, who've read the book and like struggle while they're reading it and have to remind themselves they know who this kid turns out to be. It does have a happy ending. They know the end of the story. So just letting you know that. It is a faith journey. It's really about God pulling me out and redeeming me and the people he used to do that. Here's what I'm seeing God doing through the book. I did not realize this when I wrote it. I really wrote it for my family, the people in the book, so they got the full picture of the story. But what I'm seeing, like I said, I didn't plan this, but this is what I'm seeing happening, is people are reading it, and then they are sharing it with somebody else, and people are identifying with the longing. They may not identify with me. They may not be, have an abusive family. They may not struggle with homelessness or alcoholism, etc. But they can identify with trying to find something, purpose and meaning and direction. And then how God used other people to help me take my next step in my faith journey. And so people are realizing that when they share the book with somebody else, that they become a character in this person's story. and God starts working through them, and they become the person who's helping somebody else take that next step. So we're giving you a copy of the book. I encourage you to read the book. As you're reading, going through your prayer list, you're praying for the people on your list. I want you to then think, whom should I give a copy of the book to? And the idea is you'll have read the book, and you can say, got this story, this book's true story about this kid here in Western Washington. Say what you want to say. And I'd like to share it with you if you'll read it. And give them a copy of the book. Then when you give them a copy of the book, use this as a conversation piece to then talk about faith. So when I come back on August 15th, we're going to do more training, more in-depth training on how to live missionally. And it's not complex. I'm going to give you an overview of it today, but it's not complex. When you read the book of Acts, when you read the Gospels, it's not complicated. We make things more complicated than it needs to be. So when I come back, I'm going to bring a whole bunch more books with me to give you, to give to others. So be thinking who you want and kind of be communicating with your pastor. So we're thinking maybe 3 or 4 copies that we're going to give to every one of you to give to somebody else. But if in your prayer list you feel like you need more, please communicate with us so we can kind of know how many to plan for. So we come back August 15th, more training, preaching Sabbath morning, a meal together, and then some training, and then we will give you more copies of the book. That's why I'm saying don't buy to give to somebody, because we're going to do that. Now, I do want to qualify, if you have a family member in North Carolina, you say you don't?
No, I said right more.
Okay. Okay. Feel free to buy a copy to send to them, if that's what you want. This is for people that eventually you're going to invite here, right? Just to qualify that. That's what we're kind of focusing on here. We believe God's going to use you to reach other people. We're using this as the tool to make that spiritual conversation happen. And it just flows naturally. So we'll come back and give you more copies of that. Again, if you want to share something with somebody else, you can buy another copy of it. Then I'll be coming back on September 19th. I think I'm preaching Sabbath morning again, but on Saturday evening, we're going to have a Meet with the Author event here. So you have given a copy of the book to people that you've been praying for. They've read the book, or mostly read it by then, hopefully. You're having a conversation, so what'd you think of the book? And then say, he's coming. He'll be here. And on the September 19th event, it's just going to be kind of me sharing the story and answering questions people have about my testimony. Today, Jim Allen was here today. He's in the story. He's like in the second half of the story. When you read the book, and I show up to the church, and there's a youth director or youth leader named Jim. That's who he is. So because I'm from Western Washington and people are from here, I might invite some of these people who are in the area to come. This is a chance for them to come and meet the kid who's now grown up, who will then be here in a few more weeks to talk about how to have a relationship with Jesus Christ through the Bible prophecy series. So it's a chance for them. You will be praying for them. You're in connection with them. You're talking about faith through this guy you met and the story you read, and they're talking about it. And then to say, he's actually going to be at my church. Why don't you come meet him? And it's not a preaching event. It's not on Daniel chapter 2. It's just kind of the testimony of how God worked in my life. And there will be an appeal for them to make a decision to give their life to Christ. And then we will be inviting them to come to the series of meetings in October. So for October, I will be living in Tacoma, October. I'm essentially giving you a 10th of my year. When you count the entire month of October, that's 1 out of 12 months, but my coming out here for the days beforehand, it's like I'm giving you a 10th of my year. I'm investing in you. You matter to me. I believe in your pastor and your leadership here. I believe in the Washington Conference, etc. So I will be without my family. My wife's unable to come. She would love to. She loves Washington. She used to live here. But I'll be here the entire month of October. So let me just clarify some things for you. This series, as Pastor said, will be part of an evangelistic series and a field school. By field school, it's training other pastors how to do evangelism, public evangelism. So we're bringing 8 students, more if depending on how you guys respond over the next few months, less depending on how you guys respond over the next few months. But we're shooting for 8 students that we're going to bring out here. And they will be here with me the entire month of October. So the series itself, that is entitled Discover Prophecy, will be from October 9 to October 24. Meeting every night, I think it's except Monday and Thursday. I don't remember exactly. I kind of switched it up sometimes, so I need to look at the schedule. But it's essentially every night, so 5 nights a week, plus Sabbath morning towards the end of the series. And the focus of the series is on the events that are transpiring just before the second coming. So we're going to be talking about the second coming in various different ways, talking about the second coming. We will be talking about the 3 angels' messages. So we will be talking about Babylon. We will be talking about the Sabbath, the law of God. We'll be talking about the mark of the beast, etc. All of this, the heart of everything, is the purpose of the series is not the mark of the beast. The purpose of the series is not Babylon, not the papacy. That's not the purpose of the series. The book of Revelation begins by clarifying what it is a revelation of. It is a revelation of Jesus Christ. So all of this is pointing to Jesus. All of this is pointing to him. Every night, the focus is Jesus Christ and giving our life to him. The reason this is given, this information is given to us, is so that we are not caught off guard and so that we are prepared. So that when we see the craziness happening in our world and in our nation, that we're not like, yeah, we may not like it, but we're not totally caught off guard by it or worked up by it. So that the focus will be on Jesus Christ and giving our life to him. This will not be fear-driven. There will be no fear focus. It's not no scariness. Where in fact we're saying this is not scary, and it points us fully over to Jesus Christ. So that's the kind of the focus of the series. So as a field school, here's kind of how it plays out. The students will be arriving. Technically, they'll be flying in on Friday, October 1st, settling into their Airbnbs, etc. But they will show up here as a welcome to you. You welcome them, get to know them a little bit on October 2. The next day on Sunday, they begin their coursework. They begin working. Our goal is to have a good number of interests for each student. We don't want to bring students that have nothing to do. We want them to be able to connect with people. So everything that you're doing between now and then is helping to generate that interest. So they'll be here. They'll be following up on people for a week before the series begins on October 9th. The series concludes on October 24, but the students will still stay here for another week to wrap up anybody else who still needs to be making decisions. And the decisions will be completely based on who the people are. There were some people who are ready to be baptized. We'll be baptizing them. Others who are not ready for baptism, that's okay. You've got an amazing pastoral team. You're an amazing church that will continue to work with them, and decisions will be made afterwards as they're incorporated in. The key is that they've made a decision for Christ, that they're beginning to understand God's will for their life, and they're connecting with you as a church. Now let me be clear. Though this series is designed for them, the unchurched, the non-Adventist, you need to be here. I know you do prophecy series. That's one of the reasons, or evangelistic series, etc., on a regular basis. That's one of the reasons why we're wanting to bring students here to see how a church lives this. But I and several colleagues of mine have done series in places where church members have the mindset like, I already know this. I got it. I've been to these before. I don't need to go. We know you know this. I get it. You know this. But you being here is the light. And when you welcome them and talk with them and connect with them and bring them, they're seeing people that are loving and caring, and they're starting to see God is drawing them into a relationship with them, and God immediately wants them to be incorporated into a church body. So they're thinking, how can I connect with God? Does God love me? Can I trust him, etc.? When they make that decision, then they start thinking, can I fit in here? And if you're not here, then they don't see that. Or if you don't talk with them, and you don't have to give them an explanation of the 2,300 days. Right? We got that. We'll cover that. Just love them. Just say hi, what's your name, etc. We'll have refreshments so they hang by and just talk with them. They can feel comfortable. Learn somebody's name. That is huge in incorporating people in. We have discovered that there are some churches where we baptize, 20 people, and a year later, only 5 are still coming. And people say, wow, see, evangelism doesn't work. But then when we do a little investigating and say, how did the church do it actually caring for the people? Well, they didn't. They were like, well, we'll give them a while and see if they actually stick. And then they wonder why they don't. Now, I know already you're all a loving church. I get it. I sense it. I just want to please come and just be present and see somebody, say hi, maybe learn a name of a few people and look for them. And if you have a conversation and stuff, pray for them and watch God do some amazing things. So let me share with you how God can use you to be a missionary. So in the book Acts of the Apostles, at the very beginning, Ellen White says this about the church. The church is God's appointed agency for the salvation of men. That's like enough right there, right? Like, why do we exist as a church? For the salvation of mankind. That's the purpose of the Tacoma Central Seventh-day Adventist Church. It was organized for service, and its mission is to carry the gospel to the world. From the beginning, it has been God's plan. What's God's plan? That through his church, that's not the building, that's not the policy, that's not even the worship service, it's the people, the ecclesia, those called out. Through the church shall be reflected to the world his fullness and his sufficiency. That's Christ in you. So in order for the mission to be fulfilled, they must see Christ in you, which means they must see you. If we're not connecting with people, we're not engaging with the unchurched or the lost or the people in our community, then we're hiding it under a bushel. And God's plan cannot be fulfilled. This is why Ellen White, or Jesus says, sanctify them in the truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I have also sent them into the world. This word sent is apostello. It's where we get the word apostle from. The disciples started as disciples, and then they changed the name to apostles. Why? Because they were sent. But here Jesus Christ is praying in John chapter 17. He's praying for the whole church. He didn't just send the disciples. He sent everyone. Every one of us have been sanctified, set aside to be sent, to be apostles. Now, interestingly, if you take this word apostle and translate it into Latin, it's missio Dei kind of thing. I don't do Latin. I do Greek way better than that. And this is the word that we get the word missionary from. A missionary is someone who is sent. You have been sent by God. You are a missionary. Some of you probably wondered throughout your life, if you've grown up in the church, some of you new coming to church, could God use me as a missionary? And you're wondering, is he going to send me to Africa, or Asia, or South America, or maybe you'll clear up in the north, above Canada and Alaska, way up there, to reach some village people up there. You don't have to go there. You are sent on mission now. Where you live, where you work, where you go to school, where you shop is your mission field. Every person that you see is someone God has put in your mission field. So when you step out of your home, right, and you look down the road and you see all the other houses, little steps, or you step out of your dorm room or your apartment complex or your condo or out onto your property, whatever your context is for your home, and you see all the other residences, it is no accident that you live there. Now you may want to move, and that's okay. But while you are there, God has sent you there. That is your mission field. In your classroom, in your school, where you're going to high school, academy, college, graduate school, junior high, that's your mission field. When you walk onto the campus of that school, you are a missionary. I just heard a story. Actually, I saw this story evolve over this past year. This last November, I went to a church. It was just planted. I do a lot of working with church planters. And went to this church, grand opening in November. And on the grand opening of this church, they had baptisms. Come on. Like first official day of church, and they already have baptisms. So they had baptisms. They had a 14-year-old girl who was baptized, amongst many others. Like, it was so cool. Loved it. And then I came back 4 months later to visit the church to see how it was doing. And they had more baptisms. Like, very cool. Still missional. Still reaching people. And there's another high school girl who's telling her testimony and how last November she saw this other girl in her high school who had been baptized, and she says, there's something different about you. She's like, well, I've given my life to Jesus. She's like, well, I want to know more about that. And so she went to her mentor, not her pastor, somebody else that mentored her, was discipling her in the church, and said, this person has asked me about how she can give her life to Jesus. I said, okay, now it's your job to make disciples of somebody else. You're a missionary. So coached by somebody else, this 14-year-old girl starts giving Bible studies to her friend in high school, and she's baptized. That's living on mission. That's what it means to live on mission. When I was in college, went to Weimar College, Northern California, for my Bible school training, and to be a pastor. And if you're not familiar with Weimar, you're not going to find soda pop on campus. You're not going to find a Snickers bar or potato chips. You'll find some other kind of version of that, but not the same. Which I was fine with that. You know, I was a vegetarian, and still am, and but yeah, every once in a while I wanted a treat. And just across the highway from was then college, is now university, just across the street, there was called the Weimar Market. They had a gas station and like a mini mart. And so I would walk over there on Friday afternoons, and I would buy a bag of potato chips, a can of bean dip, and a can of soda. It was kind of like my treat. So I go over, I grab these 3 items, I go to check out, and in the, 29 seconds that I'm standing there, I say hi, thank you, have a good day, and move on. But I'm doing this week after week. And I'm realizing, I tried to live missionally, and I just connect with this person. I learn her name, she learns my name, we start to have conversation. In that about 29, 40 seconds, that's there, depending on whether there's another customer behind, we're connecting over the course of this time. Until eventually, after several months, school year, senior year in college, she's like, so what's going on over there? Like, what do you mean what's going on over there? Like, well, what is that place? I'm like over there, like, what's going on over there? Like, I thought everybody knew. You live right across the street from the place, and I think everybody else buys their gas here, so how do you not know what's going on across the street? There's a lot of Adventist churches that people do not know that there's an Adventist church across the street from them. So I didn't know that then, but it's truth. And so I'm like, well, it's a Seventh-day Adventist institution. There's a health center, there's a college, there's an academy, there's a grade school, a lot of training and things going on. It's like, I never knew that. It's like, what's a Seventh-day Adventist? Like, you didn't realize it was Seventh-day Adventist? I didn't say that, but as I'm thinking, it's like, well, and so I gave her the real quick summary of what a Seventh-day Adventist is, and then said, so what's your faith experience? Now, I'd had a relationship with this woman, enough so that one day when I was there, a few weeks before, she's putting an order in for stuff, and she's like, is there anything you want me to order so you can have here? I'm like, wow, this manager of the store is going to stock whatever it is I want. I was happy with my chips and bean dip and soda, so I didn't suggest anything. But I said, just keep that stuff stocked and we're good, But so I'd had a relationship with her in about 40 seconds, right, week after week. So I said, well, what's your faith journey, She's like, well, I believe in God, but I don't go to church. Like, well, do you know the Bible? Would you like to learn the Bible? Yeah, I'd like to know more. You want to have Bible studies? She's like, yeah, I'll do Bible studies. We started Bible studies. I graduated, connected her with somebody else at the local Meadow Vista church, and a few months after I graduated, she was baptized. Just buying bean dip, soda, and chips. So when you go to the grocery store, the post office, that's your mission field. To live missionally is to recognize I'm sent. It's no accident where you work. And I know some of you would love to work somewhere different. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with aspiring to move on up to make a little bit more money so you can pay the bills better. Nothing wrong with that at all. But while you're there, that's your mission field. You're sent there. And for some, you're like praying for deliverance. I get it. But it's no mistake you're there. You are the representative of heaven. You are the good messenger sent there. Ellen White says this, 2 different statements. She says the same thing. Every true disciple is born into the kingdom of God as a missionary. Are you a follower of Jesus? Then you're a missionary. She says it here another way, same thing. Every son and daughter of God is called to be a missionary. We are called to the service of God and our fellow men. You are a missionary. You have been sent on mission. So how do we do that? So I want to share with you 6 very simple things. In reality, Jesus said, love God and love others. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's really all that it is. Let them see Christ in you, and that's it. We have a tendency to make things way more complicated. It does not have to be complicated. But we like things complicated. We make things complicated. We go to a training event, and it's like over the course of, a whole long weekend, and we walk away with this big, giant notebook. And we've got all this training, and sometimes all of that training intimidates people, and they think that's just too much to memorize and learn. You don't read that in the Gospels. You don't read that in the book of Acts. It was what? It was very simple. As a pastor friend of mine, when I was pastoring here, we get together every once in a while. Here, when I was pastoring in Lacey, we get together every once in a while. And you talking about what we were doing. And he was talking about doing evangelism training and how we were making things complicated. Ladies, if you're leaving, I want to give you a copy of your book before you go. Please let them make sure they get it, if they want it. So he was describing how they make things too complicated. And so he was doing training on a Sabbath afternoon, much like this, and he told everybody, I'm going to teach you the strategic way to make a new friend. And so he spent 20 minutes describing to them how to do this. You take your thumb and your middle finger and you create a circle. Not pointed, not at an angle, but a circle. And then your index finger sticks straight out, not at an angle, but straight out. The other 2 fingers you can do whatever you want with, but these have to be just right. And they would go around the room and they would look at everybody's fingers like, no, that's too much like this. Nope, that's too much like this. It's got to be perfect circle. This is too much an angle. It's got to be just perfect. So once they got that all right, he said, okay, now you take this and you kind of have this flat surface and you place it right on your shoulder. Not too low, not too high, right on your shoulder. And everybody's working real hard. They're like, doing little breakout groups to make sure they all got it right. And he said, this is the most complicated part. You take this, and in one motion, you move your hand and turn your wrist. Don't move your hand and then turn your wrist. Don't turn your wrist and then move your hand. It's one fluid motion. And they worked 5 minutes, make sure everybody got this right. And then he said, okay, once you have that down, you say these words, and this is how you make a new friend. So do you live around here? Right, now I didn't make you do it. I noticed many of you did. And it certainly didn't take 20 minutes but they felt like they weren't getting anything unless it was complicated. You read the book of Acts. If you're looking for something new to study in your worship, read the book of Acts and you just ask, is it complicated? What you see are people who are full on surrendered to Jesus Christ and filled with the Spirit. God brings people into their lives and they're willing to be used. Sometimes maybe they got to be pushed a little bit, right? Ananias, right? Not Ananias and Sapphira, but the other guy who Saul was sent to. He's like, told Jesus no. Jesus physically appeared to him, said, I'm going to send you Saul. Like, no, it ain't going to happen. We know this guy. Like, no, I'm sending him to you. So sometimes it's got to be pushed, but that's what happens. So here's the 6 steps. It's not this complicated, but people like to think about it, so we've made 6 steps for you. The first is to pray. 2 things about praying. The first is pray for yourself. Make sure you're right with God. Make sure you're living what you believe. That you're not faking it, you're not just passing the time, thinking that maybe sometime you're going to rededicate your heart to God. That's the first step. You can't give what you don't have. You can't share what you don't know. You can't be the good messenger unless you've experienced the good message. So it begins with just you. Surrender your life to Christ. Fall on your knees. Give your heart to Him. The second part of that prayer, kind of A and B, is pray for them. That's why we've given you this. Start praying for people. And there are people you've not even met yet. Happens every time. People that all of a sudden God's going to bring into your life tomorrow, the next week, next month, whatever. You'll start bringing into your life, and you'll be adding them to the prayer list. Right? So start writing them down and start praying for them by name. The second thing to do is to listen. There's 2 parts of this, A and B. The first part is to listen to what God is doing. So it's like, what's happening? Like, God's going to bring people into your life now that you're willing to be used, so be listening for that. The second thing is, when you're talking with somebody, listen. Right? My mom used to say, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Right? So listen. Just because somebody says, hey, I'm going through something, that's not the time to go into explaining the millennium. Right? Just listen to them. Listen to what's going on in their life. Hear them out so that you can then offer to pray for them or something. Just listen to them so that you can care for them. The third step is food. Eat with them. Invite them over for lunch. Invite them to dinner. Invite them to it's Western Washington. You all do coffee. I don't do coffee. But invite them to coffee or a smoothie or soda or whatever. Invite them to a bakery or something. Invite them someplace. I know your church has many pop picnics and things planned coming up. Invite them to that. When you eat with people, you connect at a different level. Your friends. And you connect. This is so biblical. Jesus was always eating with people. I mean, that was his accusation. He eats with sinners. Food is so huge in the Bible as part of disciple making. Right? It was part of the Passover experience. To illustrate the plan of salvation to the children of Israel, food was involved. Jesus Christ didn't change that when he altered it with the Lord's Supper. Right? The supper, it's not as complicated as a meal as the Passover was, but still food was involved with it. When we get to heaven, there's a banquet feast planned in heaven. Why does he talk about that? I mean, I'm sure we're going to eat, but why is that so important? Because when we're there eating together, we're one family. I can't wait to see the table. But the food is huge. When you eat with people, you connect in a different way. And I'm saying just eat with them. You don't have to give a Bible study at the meal. Just eat as you're eating with a friend. If the conversation comes up, fine. It'll come later. If not. Fourth thing to do is serve them. Look for those. That's why you listen, because you're looking for those opportunities to serve. Jesus Christ demonstrated the character of God by serving others. Ultimate gift of service was his death on the cross. Everything he did was to serve. The mission of the church is it's here to serve and to share the gospel. So look for those opportunities to serve people. They are so prevalent. As you listen, you might hear it. So here's something that I do a lot. See somebody, hey, how you doing? And people will respond, great. Really? What makes it great? And listen. And then affirm what's ever great. Some people say, not so good. Right? Listen. Why not so good? And if they want to share, they'll share. And listen. Now, some people will say, yeah, okay. And for me, it's not a problem for me to say, well, now you don't sound like you're okay. Now, that gives them permission to share or not share. They don't want to share, they won't share. That's okay. But some people are like, well, yeah, I'm going through it. Listen. And then when they're done, here's the best way you can serve. Offer to pray for them. Now, if it's appropriate, you can pray for them right then. But they may not be comfortable, depending on your relationship. Still say, can I pray for you? Now, you might not think that's a big deal, but to an unchurched person, you're taking time to talk to God about them. I mean, when you think of it from their perspective, that's huge. And it is huge because you're literally talking to the God of the universe about this person. I don't know how or why. Mostly the how. I kind of understand more than why. I don't know how prayer works. Right? People talk about the science of prayer. People talk about how prayer works. I don't know how it works. I mean, I know all the Bible verses, and I read all the books about prayer too, so I understand those. But I don't know why heaven waits for us to speak to God that gives permission to intervene. Does God need me? No. If God can make donkeys talk and rocks cry out, he does not need me. But he chooses to use us. Maybe it's for us that he wants us to pray. For others. I understand praying for ourselves, but for others. When we pray for others, God moves in ways that he doesn't. Doesn't make sense to me. He's more than capable without me. But he does. So when you pray for people, God moves. And when somebody is going through a difficult situation and you offer to pray for them, many times when you check in with them later, whether it turned out good or not good, they can testify God did something. So don't just say you're going to pray for them, but actually do pray for them. Then look for the opportunities when it's appropriate, not preemptively, to share what God has done for you. Don't be preachy. Don't abuse the trust. You're loving them. But when it's appropriate, share your testimony. Now, your testimony might be in relationship to what they've shared with you. It may be somebody is going through a really difficult health situation that maybe you went through once. And you can share, I understand. And share, this is what I went through, and then this is how God helped me through that. That could be that, not necessarily your conversion, but how your faith in God helped you through that situation. Or it may be your testimony, how you've experienced the gospel, when it's appropriate. Those opportunities will come, so you're listening for those right opportunities to bring God into the story. Now, I'm no longer a pastor. I'm a teacher, technically, so a professor. But I find opportunities to talk about my faith all the time. I'm a professor of religion. I teach pastors. But I connected with my neighbor, Doug, one time, and I was building a barn, and I just moved to the area, just building my barn, kind of getting started in my new home and connecting with my new neighbor. And in the process of connecting with my new neighbor, I'm looking for opportunities to talk about my faith. And so my pastor of my church, right, I'm no longer a pastor. I have a pastor now. I attend a church. He built his barn, and I decided I was going to build my barn just like his. So rather than just talking about how I patterned my barn after Alex's barn, I talk about how I patterned it after my pastor. As a way of just kind of looking for those opportunities to drop it. Now, if he's not interested, it just goes there. now Doug and I, we have spiritual conversations. So look for those opportunities. Don't be preachy. You don't have to preach. You don't have to give a Bible study. Just talk about your faith. And just drop it and let it be. If they want more, they'll engage more. You don't have to push. If they're ready, they'll talk. And you can have that conversation. And when appropriate, invite. Now, the invite, your church is doing many wonderful things for the community. Invite them to that, one of those things. Invite them to church. Invite them to a small group. Invite them to your home for a Bible study. And eventually invite them to the Bible prophecy series. Invite them to come. Learn more for that. You follow this mindset of living missionally. When you leave today recognizing that you are living on mission, God's going to start bringing people into your life. Happens every time. I'm going to conclude with this testimony. So though I'm no longer pastoring a church, my wife and I still like to, obviously live missionally and stuff. But we were praying together after we've been here for a few years in Michigan, praying for people to disciple, kind of creating a group of people that we can help grow in faith next to them. I travel a lot, so it's very difficult, so it took us a while to kind of wrestle with this, but one day we were praying, okay, God, who do you want us to pour into? And one day at church, there was an announcement, and this young adult couple, get up on the platform and talk about how they lead a young adult Sabbath school class. And my wife is like, them. That's who God wants us to pour into. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we found their number, and I texted the both of them. I said, hey, wonder what you guys are doing? We've never had a conversation. Actually, no, sorry. We've never had a conversation with them. But at the end of their announcement, they said, if you want to come visit us as young adults, come visit us. We're clearly not young adults anymore. I just passed into senior citizen discount. There are advantages to the knee pain in the morning. It's kind of not quite the same mix-off, but so we decided we're going to go visit. So we showed up to the young adult Sabbath school. Like, hey, kind of feeling a little awkward. You said you want to stop by and visit. Oh, yeah, come in. With my wife and I, there were a total of 6 of us in the young adult Sabbath school. So we just listened to mostly, and then we spent some time talking and praying afterwards and said, you know what, we want to pour into this couple. So I found their numbers, and I texted them and said, what are you guys doing this Sabbath? Would you be willing to come over to our place after church for lunch? And they're busy. Young adults are busy. They're like, yeah, we have nothing planned, so we'll come over. So it was just them. We had them over. We had food, and you had a meal together, and we shared in this meal. And then afterwards, we'd like to go for a hike, for a walk. Like, yeah, so we went to this park, went on this long, 3-mile, hike. And when we got done, my wife and I were looking at each other. We've been married for 32 years now, and you kind of can have conversations with your eyes. And, it's like you just connect in ways. It's awesome. And so we both realized we want to go, we want to invite them into a discipling relationship. And so I don't know if her or I said, there's some picnic tables by our cars. Do you want to sit down and continue to talk? And they said yes. And they're like, we're older than their parents, and they're still willing to hang out with us. And so after the walk, we just said, listen, we feel like God wants us to do more than just go to church, go through programs, go home. Like, there's more. And we would like to share with you what we think that is and to see what God does through it. And so if you're interested, we'd like to invite you to our house on Wednesday nights for a small group, just the 4 of us. And we can just pour into you. We don't expect to fill your cup, but we will empty our cups into you and see what God does. But pray about it. So they prayed about it. Partway through the week, they emailed back or texted back and said, yeah, we'll come. So we started meeting with them on Wednesday nights, just the 4 of us. And we poured into them what the purpose of the church is, what it means to be a disciple and how to be a disciple maker. Poured into them. They embraced it. They're like, they told us we were ready to stop young adult Sabbath school. It was just the four of us. We were getting nowhere. Nothing was happening. But after our meeting together, we opened up for them this revelation that God is at work. And if we're willing to be used, he will bring people to us. They're getting about 40 people in their Sabbath school now. This is since this last spring. They've outgrown their room. They've had to add more furniture, and they're packed at the seams. Now we're having a conversation of what to do next, because they've outgrown this, and like God is bringing people into their lives. They were at church one day, and this couple shows up. This woman, young adult, who grew up Adventist, was disconnected, had been to church maybe since, I don't know, academy or something, and she's dating this guy who's not an Adventist. They show up to church, and they connect with them, right? They're looking for people. They're recognizing, listening for God working. They're looking for how God is working, and they connect with them. They have a conversation with them, and then this woman, this girl, she's like, young adult, she's like, I think I want to do Bible studies and get baptized. And she's like, this is not a coincidence. I mean, how often does somebody show up that you've never met, come to you, and say, I want somebody to give me Bible study so I can get baptized? Not in her life until she realized she was living on mission. And now God is bringing all these people. And so she's like, she went to talk to her mom about it, and her mom's like, well, you're going to refer to the pastor? She's like, no. The gospel commission is for all of us. All of us are to make disciples. I'm supposed to be a disciple maker. So I'm going to give her the Bible studies. And she's giving her the Bible studies. So this is not complicated. And when we just recognize we're living on mission, I believe it. God is going to bring people into your life. And if you just authentically love them, God does everything else. You know how the Bible says God brings stuff to your mind? It happens. If he brings people to you, he will equip you to say what you need to say. It happens. What you read in the book of Acts does not have to be something from the past or something from the future. It can be now. So, here's our plan. Here's how we're going to try to implement this. We're going to do a Bible prophecy series in October. My whole goal is between now and then is to just kind of pull back the curtain so that you could see how God is wanting to work in your life. That's if anything can come from that, Bible prophecy series will be what it's intended to be, a reaping event. It'll reap what you are sowing. And the Bible says you reap what you sow. So my goal with you is to just pour into you, to just let you see how God wants to use you, regardless of your age, regardless of your experience. So I know some of you were just recently baptized here, and some of you have been an Adventist your entire life. Some of you are, retirement age, and some of you are, still teenagers or maybe even younger. Does not matter. The Spirit of God is poured out upon all his people. And we believe in the priesthood of all believers. You have been called, you have been sent, and God is going to bring people into your life. So, just a reminder, here's the plan. We're going to give you a copy of the book. I don't know, pastors, how you want to distribute them. We got these 4 cases to get them in the back so people can get them as they go. However you want to do that. I don't think one line here is the most effective way. So however we want to do that. Have we got a head count? Really? We brought 120 books. You have an amazing pastor of faith. This is an amazing man of faith.
If you could do one, can you do one per family? And unless you can't do that, you can have another one. One per family. And if you can always get another one, but for
For you to
instance,
sign the book.
like for
I'll stay
instance,
by.
in my house,